Chapter 8. How Suggestion Works. In order to understand properly the part played by suggestion, or rather by autosuggestion, it is enough to know that the unconscious self is the grand director of all our functions. Make this believed, as I said above, that a certain organ which does not function well must perform its functions, and instantly the order is transmitted. The organ obeys with docility, and either at once or little by little performs its function in a normal manner. This explains simply and clearly how by means of suggestion one can stop hemorrhages, cure constipation, cause fibrosous tumors to disappear, cure paralysis, tubercular lesions, varicose ulcers, etc. Let us take, for example, a case of dental hemorrhage, which I had the opportunity of observing in the consulting room of M. Goff, a dentist at Troyes. A young lady whom I had helped to cure herself of asthma, from which she had suffered for 8 years, told me one day that she wanted to have a tooth out. As I knew her to be very sensitive, I offered to make her feel nothing at the operation. She naturally accepted with pleasure, and we made an appointment with the dentist. On the day we had arranged, we presented ourselves at the dentist, and standing opposite my patient, I looked fixedly and said, "You feel nothing. You feel nothing. You feel nothing." And then, while still continuing the suggestion, I made a sign to the dentist. In an instant the tooth was out, without Millie turning a hair. As fairly often happens, a hemorrhage followed, but I told the dentist that I would try suggestion without his using a hemostatic, without knowing therefore what would happen. I then asked Millie to look at me fixedly, and I suggested to her that in 2 minutes the hemorrhage would cease of its own accord, and we waited. The patient spat blood once and again, and then ceased. I told her to open her mouth, and we both looked and found that a clot of blood had formed in the dental cavity. How is this phenomenon to be explained? In the simplest way, under the influence of the idea, the hemorrhage is to stop. The unconscious had sent to small arteries and veins the order to stop the flow of blood, and obediently they contracted naturally, as they would have done artificially at the contact of a hemostatic like adrenaline, for example. The same reasoning explains how a fibrous tumor can be made to disappear. The unconscious having accepted the idea it is to go, the brain orders the arteries which nourish it to contract. They do so, refusing their services and ceasing to nourish the tumor, which, deprived of nourishment, dies, dries up, is reabsorbed, and disappears. End of chapter.